But it's time now to talk with one of our favorite football writers. 28th season covering the NFL. You see him now at The Athletic. He's a Hall of Fame selector. And he's got one of the best names in football, Mike Sando, here on 105.3 The Fan. And a good afternoon, sir. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
It's great to have you. Now, Dak Prescott's so polarizing. What's been the reaction to putting him where you did?
You know, I don't think he's not that polarizing for people in the league. You know, when I do this survey every year, I've got 50 coaches and executives, so there's a good cross-section of people. And I think most people agree he's kind of a low 2. Some put him as a 3. And what that means is you can win with him. And that's exactly what the Dallas Cowboys have done. They've won with him. But they haven't won big with him. And so, you know, that's why he's not higher. I think this is the lowest he's been this year in the 2020s. You'd have to go back to 2019. So he slipped some within Tier 2, but I think most people feel he's still good and good enough. But at a certain point, you know, we want to see some postseason results probably to move up.
What do you think needs to happen for that to happen?
I thought they already did it. They got better on defense, you know, for a while there. Look, this team was second to Kansas City in regular season wins over a 3-year period. But, you know, it's a mystery. Is it, you know, have they needed better coaching in those big games? Have they needed Dak to step up and carry them in a couple moments, and he hasn't been able to do that? It's tough to say what it is, but there's clearly been something missing. And it's not just Dak. Obviously, it goes back farther than him. And they've had good quarterback play. Tony Romo was very good as well. So, you know, we've all heard the common denominator, you know, is the owner. But as Emmitt Smith said recently, too, you know, they've had pretty good teams. Someone's got to break through.
What do you think about, you know, Dak's profile as a quarterback on the other side of 30? He's picked up some injuries. He's had high turnover rate in 2 of the last 3 years. Like, do you see him sliding more from here? Or do you think he holds his spot and has a chance of moving up here in the balance of his career?
Yeah. I'm a little worried. You know, I think he looks a little stiffer than he did earlier. You know, he was never this most amazing run-around athlete, but he's always been, you know, athletic enough, and it feels to me like some of that's waning, and I do have some injury concerns. Now, people forget that, you know, the last full season he played, I think he was second in MVP voting. So I'm not saying he's done. If he's healthy this year, he may be good to go. I think Brian Schottenheimer is going to help him out. I think Schottenheimer did a good job with, you know, when he was in Seattle with Russell Wilson. I live in the Seattle area, been around that team. I think Russell Wilson had some of his best years, maybe his best years, with Shotty. So I think there's hope. I think that he can be an upper half quarterback, but you know, we're nearer probably the end than the beginning for him.
I think one of the biggest takeaways that I had in your write-up here, Mike, was the quote, "I'm not necessarily worried about anything when I play him, but he's just solid." That was from a defensive coordinator in regard to Dak. Is that really the thing that holds him back from being in that elite conversation with the Allens and the Mahomes and the Lamar Jacksons, et cetera?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. There's always been a feeling with Dak that, you know, he needs a little bit more of the run game to be take the ball out of his hands some, that you may not want to be just throwing it around. Now, I think he's shown that he can be a little bit of a higher volume passer. But, yeah, I think that's a factor. Like when you play, obviously when you play those guys in Tier 1, you're like, oh, my gosh, we got Josh Allen this week. Look, we're going to have trouble just tackling them, you know. And I think with some of those guys in the top of Tier 2, you know, I think there's Jaden Daniels may have a little bit of that now. Justin Herbert is just so physically impressive. There's something missing there. But, you know, I think Dak's in that next group where Jared Goff is and you know, Baker Mayfield. Wouldn't you say he's kind of in that range?
Sure. Hey, Mike, I really don't want to talk football with you. I want to talk about Nobu and the podcast that you and I are going to do, just kind of rating sushi, going around the country and kind of trying it out. Do you think that we have some hope doing that together?
Oh, you know, my wife just rolls her eyes at a lot of things I say, but I had this dream a long time ago that I was going to go around the country rating burger joints, and I was going to produce like a coffee table book, and it was going to make us millionaires, and I would just get to go around and eat burgers. But I think sushi, that sounds like a great way to go.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was super impressed with your ability to stand there with your Ray-Bans on and kind of evaluate the whole situation. I was like, I go, I wish I could be as cool as this guy doing this stuff.
Well, the truth is that my Ray-Bans are prescription glasses and I couldn't see anything without them. So I wore them there. And I'm like, I got to leave these things on. It's like dark out, and I'm leaving them on so I can even see who I'm talking to.
I was thinking this guy is cooler than cool to be able to do all that. But it was good to see you go.
I was just trying not to drop my food, or not look too conspicuous. As I was. Well, also with the sunglasses, I can really look and monitor the food. That's another thing I do at restaurants is I like myself so that I can kind of see the kitchen. My wife's totally wise to this. And then I'm kind of doing this. I'm looking like, that could be. That looks like a club sandwich. I'm looking like, 2 miles away in the kitchen. Yeah, I think that's coming to us. Then when it goes somewhere else, I'm like crestfallen. I'm like, that was our food. So I was checking. I even checked to see. I was like, hey, were these all the desserts? Because at the end I was ready to go, but I didn't want to miss if they were going to bring out a wave of desserts.
Yeah, I talked you into all the desserts. I say, Mike, get ready. They're about to put a tray out here. You're not going to believe. And your eyes lighted. It was like, whoa, okay, what are we about to do here? So. But it was good seeing you.
I mean, you do look like an expert, Brian.
Oh yeah,
you look like an expert.
Oh yeah,
I would trust you to know what food's coming out next.
A lot of girth here, a lot of earthquake girth. What am I doing? Girthquake. I'm the girthquake right now.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Mike. We've been hoping for a while that your middle name was Brisket. Can you confirm to us what your middle name is?
Sometimes it is. My middle name is not Brisket, but we are going to do it. We are going to smoke some. Pork butts this week. Yeah, I do.
There we go.
We're doing the pork
there
butts.
we go.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. That's a top 5 butt if you ask me, Mike. Okay, who has been the most controversial quarterback? Like since you put this list out, what's the quarterback that you keep getting there? Like I can't believe he's this high or this low.
Immediate pushback feedback on Jalen Hurts being tied for 9th and not being higher. This guy's been to 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls. He's Super Bowl MVP. There's some people who have their own standard evaluation, like, what are we doing? Why is this guy below or tied with C.J. Stroud, who's had one good year and one okay year? Why is he below Goff, Justin Herbert, even Jaden Daniels after 1 year? That's been a really probably the strongest one right out of the gates. And what I explained to people is that Jalen Hurts was actually higher in quarterback tiers coming off the Super Bowl loss because at that stage of his career, people saw him developing as a passer, and they thought, hey, this guy's on his way to really being able to sling it around more than they thought when he was coming out. I think since then, it was a little rocky in 2023, and then last year they took the ball out of his hands. So the perception is that, unlike some of those guys maybe ahead of him, there's a sweet spot for him as far as how much he's throwing the ball, and you wouldn't want to necessarily load him up with more. Whereas, some of those other guys that are higher, it's like, hey, even Lamar Jackson, in the last year or two, they've given it to him more. And so I think that's probably what it is for Jalen Hurts, just not being seen as a really good player on a team with really good players, but not necessarily someone you want to load up more.
Sounds like the people you talk to are good at, or at least conscious about separating the team result from the quarterback.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt about it. I mean, and this year Joe Burrow is a unanimous number one, unanimous tier one. So, he was 9-8. They missed the playoffs, but everybody, in the league could see why. I mean, he's not out there playing defense, and that was really what held them back. Probably, kind of like when Drew Brees. Remember when they gutted that defense there? Right. And it was like throwing for 5,000 yards every year, and they're 7-9.
Right.
It ain't Drew Brees' fault. I mean, he's the best thing they got going, and I think that's true with Burrow. I think one of the reasons Jaden Daniels was so high, bottom 10 defense. You're in the NFC Championship game, and you're the running game and the passing game. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's hard to do. It's very rare for a rookie to be able to do that. So he got boosted up. Yeah, that context is really important.
I've been going back and forth with people about Matthew Stafford over the last couple of years. I loved how high Stafford was, but even I was a little surprised tier 1 in that group with some others. I mean, were you surprised that Stafford made tier 1 for the first time?
I was a little bit. Now, there's a huge gap between him and those top guys. I think he's 26 votes of the 50 in Tier 1, which is just like barely gets you in there. But he's been hanging around near Tier 1. And if you look at how I do this, I change some of the voters every year. So maybe there's 20 new voters, and I just happen to swerve into 5 guys that really loved Stafford more, and so he got 5 more votes in Tier 1 this year, and that kind of moved him across the border into Tier 1 territory, I think, without anybody really seeing him differently, if that makes sense.
Mike Sando with us here in the GBAG Nation. I couldn't help but notice some of the quotes on Caleb Williams and where he came in at number 23. What do you think the thought is about him, and where's the optimism now that he's got Ben Johnson?
I thought it was super striking that of those 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round in 2024, almost all, there wasn't much to say on J.J. McCarthy, didn't play, but on everybody else, except for Caleb Williams, pretty positive. Especially, Jaden, Bo Nix, even Drake May, people said, hey, tough situation he went to. I liked what the guy showed. With Caleb, it was kind of like, man, alarming processing. I'm not sure he's going to be able to process the game quickly enough. And I thought, okay, is he being held to a number 1 overall sort of generational standard, or is this a real concern? And I think it was a real concern with enough people that it's definitely one to watch this year, and it's not as optimistic as you would have thought when they drafted him or hired Ben Johnson.
Mike, does Kenny Pickett get like an edible arrangement or some kind of gift for being all alone there in Tier 5 by himself?
Yeah. I didn't really want to put him in this, but I was talked into it just because of how fluid their situation is. And so if you read the quotes on him in there, they're actually not that negative. Sometimes it's a little unfair to bring somebody into a group of starters when he's not really a starter. But, it is what it is for that team, I think. And as I pointed out, I think going to Pittsburgh when they had Canada as the offensive coordinator was tough. I think if he goes to Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell, he's not Tier 2, but maybe he's not seen as Tier 5, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. The situation matters. And I was, like Brian and I do a lot of draft work leading up to the season. I was so wrong on Bo Nix. But with people you talk to, is that more a reflection on the player, or Sean Payton is just a great fit for him?
I think Sean Payton being a great fit for him is a big part of that equation, no doubt. If he had gone somewhere and they had disagreed in the front office and the coaching staff wasn't that excited on him, there's no way he has that type of season. When Payton drafted him that high, I thought, whoa. Yeah. He's declaring. Sean Payton is declaring he's invested in this guy, because you could tell he was sort of annoyed by Russell Wilson. He almost didn't want that to go. and then but when you declare in the first round, Sean Payton, you're going to be evaluated on this. Your Hall of Fame conversation. If this guy's bad, then Drew Brees is going to start getting a lot of credit, right? So I thought, wow, that was a big move. And so far, so good.
Yeah, Sean hated when he and I had the discussion about Bo Nix. He hated everything I said about Bo Nix. He goes, there's a reason why you're working in radio now. And I'm like, well, you know what? You were in media for a while yourself, fired coach. And he goes, well, you know what? You've been in media longer than me, kind of a thing. So, yeah, he did. He was trying to tell me, I like Bo Nix. And I was like going, bro, you just like to try and be the guru guy. And he goes, no, the guy can play. I can make this guy work.
Hey, Sean Payton may know what kind of clothes look good on him, and we may look at that and go, I can't pull that off. But he's got it. He does, that guy,
man.
And I think
he's an idiot. I love him. He's an idiot.
I think he's going to be. I think he's got a guy they're going to win with. It's not out of the realm that they could challenge for the division title there. They've had a top 5 defense, and they added to it in the draft. So I think it's going to be a fun year in the AFC West.
One of our night guys, Mike, his name is Fred Davis. He's a big Chiefs guy, and if you mention anybody but Mahomes being on top or anybody but the Chiefs winning the division, he'll go full Yosemite Sam on you, dang near. But what did you find out about what the league's saying about Patrick Mahomes right now?
Maybe the gap's closed a little bit with some of those other guys. He hasn't had the huge statistical years, but as one person put it to me, he's kind of in that Brady chair right now, where it's as long as they keep winning, and he's obviously a huge part of what they do, he's the standard. But you could make a case that on any given Sunday, Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson are a tougher matchup, for game plan consideration. So I think it's going to take Mahomes, not having great stats and then bowing out of the playoffs early, being a one and done, and maybe Josh Allen or Lamar, one of those guys, Burrow, going all the way. Then I think we'll have some fun conversations.
Well, congrats on another great report and another banner year for the QB Tiers. Mike Sando, read it in The Athletic. Thanks for joining us here on your home of the Cowboys.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it. Good seeing you, Brian, at Nobu there. Yeah.
Yeah. You and I, the next one's on me, Mike. Thanks for picking that one up.
Thank you, Mike. Absolutely, yeah.